Hi everyone, Shai here. I hope all of you are doing good. Welcome to another new video. From busted Batmobiles to giant lightning machines, the wilderness is full of incredible inventions that have been left to rust in peace. In this video, we're heading into the wild to uncover some of the most unusual and fascinating abandoned technology and vehicles. Get ready to explore forgotten marvels of innovation that once pushed the boundaries of human creativity, now quietly resting amidst nature's reclaim. Stay tuned as we dive into these extraordinary relics of the past and talk about the most unusual abandoned technology and vehicles. Number 1. If you go scuba diving off the coast of Charleston, South Carolina, you'll find what looks like the remains of an underwater civilization with a great public transport network. Around 30 meters offshore, the seabed is home to 50-ton subway cars from New York covered in seaweed and swarming with fish. It looks like the lost city metro of Atlantis, but these carriages were deliberately sunk 100 feet underwater in 2002. The South Carolina Department of Natural Resources created an artificial coral reef to enhance marine life. The area's flat seabed lacked rocks or natural corals, resulting in minimal food for fish. The so-called Kamane Reef was intended to provide shelter and sustenance for marine life. The subway cars' windows and doors were removed before sinking, and soon after, they were colonized by mussels, shrimp, and fish. Artificial reefs like this can hold 400 times more food than a flat seabed, and today, the abandoned subway cars are teeming with life, though still only half as busy as the subway I take every morning. Number 2. French Fly. On the outskirts of Chevrolet, France, there's a rusty, unassuming hangar that houses an old hovercraft from the 1970s, the Aerotrain I-80. This futuristic vehicle, developed by French engineer Jean Burdon, functioned like a giant hovercraft floating on an air cushion a few inches above a specially built monorail track. The train pumped air against the track, creating enough force to lift and stabilize itself. Unlike regular trains, which are slowed by friction between wheels and rails, the Aerotrain could reach speeds of 267 miles per hour. However, it faced competition from the TGV, a high-speed train system developed by France's National Railway Company, SNCF. The TGV, which could also use existing tracks, proved more cost-effective. In 1974, the French government canceled the Aerotrain project in favor of the TGV, which is still in use today. Most Aerotrains have since been left to rust in warehouses, but the prototype I-80 is displayed in a small museum in Versailles. Some remnants of the project are still visible in the French countryside, leaving hope that the Aerotrain might fly again someday. Number 3. Unlimited power. Some abandoned inventions are so mysterious that it's impossible to tell what they are, like this gigantic contraption left in a forest near Moscow, Russia. It resembles a spaceship that crash-landed on Earth or the world's weirdest water slide, but it's actually a Marx generator located at the High Voltage Research Center. This facility was abandoned after the fall of the Soviet Union. Built in the 1970s, the generator was designed to charge massive amounts of electricity and produce artificial lightning bolts. Soviet scientists used it to test the resilience of power lines and aircraft against lightning strikes. However, due to high operational costs, the research center was shut down when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. Despite being abandoned and gathering dust, the Marx generator remains the largest of its kind. In 2014, the Russian government briefly powered it up for a demonstration, proving that it still works. It seems lightning can strike the same place more than once. Before moving on to the next point, I'd like to take a moment to introduce you all to my merchandise. You can support my content by getting your favorite products from my store or by simply joining my channel. Your support means a lot to me. Now, let's get back to the video. Number 4. The American Dream. I hate to break it to you, but size does matter, and this next vehicle is as big as abandoned cars get. The American Dream is the longest stretch limo in the world, with a 100-foot-long body that holds a hot tub, a helipad, and a hinge in the middle to go around corners. It was built in 1986 by J. Orberg, a car designer who famously developed the DeLorean from Back to the Future. He hoped Hollywood studios would rent the limo and use it in their movies, but it was incredibly expensive to maintain and a nightmare to park, so nobody wanted to hire it. In the late 90s, Jay gave up on his dream and abandoned the limo outside a warehouse in New Jersey. He thought the abandoned vehicle would sit there and rot away forever, but he did put it on eBay in case anyone else wanted it. Around 20 years later, in 2014, a man called Mike Manning bought it for an undisclosed sum to restore it. However, he discovered that he couldn't afford the extensive work the car needed. So, in 2019, he sold it to Michael Deezer, the owner of a huge vehicle collection kept at the Orlando Auto Museum in Florida. Deezer had the funds to fix the limo, and 3 years and $250,000 later, the dream was alive again. The car has been fully restored to working condition, and today you can see the world's longest limo for yourself at the Orlando Auto Museum. Number 5. Rusty Railroad. Out in the Salar de Uyuni Salt Flat in Bolivia lies a cemetery with over 100 bodies decaying under the sun. But it isn't a graveyard for people. The train cemetery is an area of the salt desert near the city of Uyuni that contains over 100 abandoned train cars that have sat there since the 1940s. Uyuni was founded in 1890, and several railways were built to connect it with Bolivia's other major cities. This allowed Uyuni to become a railway junction that linked the cities together, and it soon became an important transport hub in Bolivia's mining industry as trains carrying tin often passed through it on the way to their final destination. Uyuni wanted to establish an even bigger rail network in the early 20th century, so they imported lots of new trains from Britain. However, the mining industry went downhill in the second half of the 1940s, so the trains were no longer needed, and the demoralized citizens of Uyuni dumped them in the desert, where they've rusted ever since. Normally, the lack of humidity and dry desert air would stop metal from rusting so badly, but the Salar de Uyuni is actually the world's largest salt flat, which means it's the remnants of a saltwater lake that evaporated 40,000 years ago. All the salt was left behind, so whenever the wind blows, it covers the train cemetery, which eats away at the metal and speeds up the rusting process. Man, somebody needs to put those poor locomotive corpses in coffins. Number 6. Over and Out. Puerto Rico is a beautiful island paradise, but if you venture out into the tropical forest around the city of Arecibo, you'll find one giant blemish lying amongst the trees. This concrete dish isn't King Kong's dinner plate, it's actually all that remains of an incredibly high-tech space telescope at the abandoned Arecibo Observatory. The U.S. National Science Foundation built the observatory in 1963, and they used it to examine asteroids, stars, and planets for over 50 years. It was the largest telescope of its kind on Earth, but in 2017, it was damaged by Category 5 Hurricane Maria. The NSF made repairs and continued to work at the observatory, but the hurricane had weakened it. In August 2020, a cable holding up the telescope's central platform unexpectedly snapped and knocked a hole in the dish. The NSF then spent months trying to repair it, but on December 1st, disaster struck when the remaining cables broke and sent the entire platform crashing to the ground. The damage was so catastrophic that the foundation couldn't repair the observatory, meaning the telescope had transmitted for the last time. Number 7. Ghost ships. When you travel on a cruise ship, you expect to receive a relaxing tour around some of the world's most beautiful locations. However, in April 2000, the passengers aboard the MS World Discoverer were treated to a pretty stressful experience that ended with them fleeing a shipwreck. As the Discoverer attempted to sail through the Sandfly Passage in the Solomon Islands, it hit an uncharted coral reef, which caused the ship to slowly topple over. The captain sent out a distress signal, and a nearby ferry evacuated the passengers. However, he knew the ship was going down, so he intentionally beached it in Roderick Bay to make the salvage operation easier. Unfortunately, salvage companies were unable to get there because the Solomon Islands were embroiled in a civil war. So, the ship lay abandoned until 2004, when its owner, Society Expeditions, went bankrupt. Since then, nobody has technically owned the abandoned ship, so it hasn't been recovered. But incredibly, the shipwreck has become a tourist attraction, and holiday bungalows have been built right next door, allowing you to stay a stone's throw from the Discoverer. As picturesque as this wreck is, some people are concerned that as the ship continues to degrade, its engine will start to leak oil into Roderick Bay. Back in 2015, a cruise ship called the Ocean Dream was docked in Lame Chabang, Thailand, when it sprung a leak and tilted onto its side. The Shanghai Easttime Ship Management Company didn't want to pay to salvage their boat, so they abandoned it. But a year later, the vessel started leaking oil and created a slick that was thousands of feet long, forcing the owners to clean up their mess to prevent a full-blown environmental disaster. So, although the Discoverer hasn't started leaking oil yet, maybe the ship will meet a similar fate, and the waters in Roderick Bay may not stay crystal clear for much longer. So, that was all for today. I hope you have watched the video up to this timestamp. Make sure to press the like button if it amazed you. Press the subscribe button if you still haven't subscribed to the channel, as it's totally free. You can follow me on all social media platforms. All links are given in the description. You can also watch other cool stuff. The playlist link is also mentioned in the description. I will catch you up soon in the next video. Till then, peace out.